I'm joined here today by Michael Chiesa, who's set to fight Anthony Pettis at UFC 226. Michael, how are you today?
Doing well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. So, listen, Anthony Pettis, obviously it's not the first time you were set to fight him, but what are your thoughts on him heading into this fight?
He's a well-rounded guy. He's got a very broad skill set, good striker, great ground game. Definitely a tall task, but definitely something I'm up for. With the preparation I put into this fight, given it's going to be 4 months of training camp that I've put in the books by the time I get to the fight on July 7th, I'm very well prepared for whatever he brings to the table.
And I know a lot of people are excited about this fight. How do you think you match up with him?
I match up very well. I match up with everybody. I match up very well with everybody in the division. So there isn't a guy at 155 that I don't feel like I match up good against. So, I'm just going to go out and do what I do best, just bring the fight and, force a finish.
All right, so obviously you're supposed to fight Anthony Pettis back at UFC 223. What exactly happened there from your side of things?
Not a lot I can comment on that, man. So,
okay.
You can just follow the news of what's out there, and that's about all I can say.
So if I can ask, are you pressing charges, or is this all stuff you have to keep to yourself?
Like I said, there's nothing I can say about it.
All right, man. So listen, after UFC 223, obviously everyone wasn't sure what they were going to do with you. Were you hoping that this particular fight would be rebooked?
Yeah, that was a big concern. We prepared for Anthony, and I know Anthony wanted to fight me. He probably sees some glaring weaknesses he wants to expose, and he wants to get back in the win column. So, I'm sure he wanted to keep the fight booked as much as I did. So UFC was able to make it happen. So, here we are. And, I'm excited for the opportunity to face my first former world champion.
And so you haven't fought for about a year now. I think last time we saw you was back in June. Do you think the layoff is going to affect you at all?
No, not at all. That's all mental. You know what I mean? If people consider ring rust and time off to be a real thing to affect them in the octagon when they perform, then that's just a mental thing. I'll be very sharp on fight night, and that won't play any significance in my fight.
And so one of the new things that came up is you're now an analyst for FS1, man. Congratulations. How did that come up?
Thank you, sir. It's something I've been lobbying for a long time, and we were finally able to make it happen. I've had a lot of guys that, like the John Annex, the DCs, and those types of guys. They've put some good words in for me, and we were finally able to make it happen. So I'm pretty excited about the opportunity and excited to see what happens going forward.
And how did it feel to make that debut? I mean, were you nervous? It's different from fighting in a cage.
Yeah, definitely had some nerves involved, but I was very well prepared. I did all my studying, I did all my homework, and it felt right to be at the desk. It felt good. So it's something that I could definitely see myself doing more going forward.
And what did you think of the overall experience? Obviously, you're up there with a lot of great people who do their job very well. What were your thoughts on the whole thing?
It was awesome, man. It was a lot of fun. That's the biggest thing. It was just a lot of fun. Being up there with Bisping, Jimmy Smith, Karen Bryant. We had a lot of fun. Just kind of, just talking fights. I mean, that's really all it is. What it boils down to, you gotta know your stuff. You gotta have your content. You gotta know the fights. You can't just show up there and try to wing it. You know what I mean? You gotta be well prepared. But basically, at the end of the day, you're just up there talking about fights and having fun, and that's what it was.
And so what kind of preparation did you have? I mean, did you have your notes with you at the desk, or did you just research the fights and you were just ready to go?
I had the notes on my phone, so I would watch the fights on my laptop, and I just take the notes and put it in my notebook on my phone. And I had some things on paper, but for the most part, it was all on my phone. So I just had my phone up at the desk on airplane mode, and I was just and it's not that I really had to go to it that much. I was pretty, I didn't study the notes, but just when you write something down after you've watched it, it's kind of plugged into your brain. So I didn't really have to go back and check my notes too many times.
And so now that you are an analyst and you are on TV now, Michael Bisping, he recently had his back and forth with Colby Covington. Everybody had their thoughts on that. Now that you're in the same position at Michael Bisping, what did you think of the whole, altercation?
Just at the end of the day, it's just an unfortunate situation. You don't want to see those kinds of things. Colby just had his big win. I think he's just very defensive. You know what I mean? He knows that Tyron Woodley's a staple in that desk position. So I think that maybe he felt like people were going against him. I'm not advocating for him or trying to say anybody's right or wrong in that situation. It's not what you want to see. It's not what you want to hear. You know what I mean? And it's just unfortunate that it happened.
And so coming back to your fight with Anthony Pettis, obviously you've had a super long training camp. You've had a lot of things happen in between. Is it tough to stay focused and to stay excited for this fight, or how have you been managing that?
No, not at all. It's not hard at all. I love this sport. I love preparing for fights. I love the challenge ahead of me. So, it's definitely something that's, I'm excited about. Never a dull moment in the 4 months I've been preparing for this fight.
And so what stage are you at in your training camp? I mean, obviously you've had 2 of them. I'm sure you've peaked in the other camp and you started your weight cut. What point are you at in this training camp?
Not really anything specific, man. We're just still grinding. We're still lots of hard live rounds and lots of throwing around of the weights and lots of running, and we're just still in the heat of things.
And so you are training at the UFC PI. How are you liking that so far?
Love it. World-class facility, world-class staff. Just totally, I feel like a science experiment. You know what I mean? So I'm loving the preparation, and I'm really liking the overall physiology of my body is changing, and it's changing for the better. So it's just been an exciting time to be here.
And so everybody talks about the nutritionists over there, the coaches and everything. Did you bring your own coaches, or are you working specifically with people from the PI?
I still work with my coach back home, Rick. I send him a lot of footage of my sparring and stuff. John Wood's been my man out here. He's there every day. He's monitoring things, sharpening my skills. Bo Sandoval, head of strength conditioning here. He's really been the guy. He's making a lot of changes in my overall game in terms of, my physique and just making me bigger, stronger, faster. And, there's a lot of moving parts to it.
All right, man, so I just have one more for you. Coming back to your fight with Anthony Pettis, how do you see this fight playing out come UFC 226?
It's going to be fun. I'm going to go out there and do what I do best. I'm going to go forward, bring the fight. And whether I force a finish or it's going to be a dominant decision, either way, I just see myself get my hand raised.